My enemy forced me to marry him. When I aborted his child, he was kneeling at the hospital gate, begging piteously. Later, I tried to force him to divorce me by attempting suicide. But when I opened my eyes again, I was back to the night I lost my virginity to him. This time around, I fell in love with him. I chose to have his child, but he committed suicide. In the cooperation between our families, Thaddeus's father betrayed us at the last moment, causing my father to jump from the 28th floor, his body splattered on the ground. My mother, wandering in a daze on the street, was hit by a truck, falling into a vegetative state and never opening her eyes again. As for Thaddeus and me, we went from being childhood sweethearts to sworn enemies. The most ridiculous part was at an investment gathering where I wore a super short skirt and smiled to accompany the investors. I was drugged and sent to his bed. When I woke up, I yelled at him, "Get out!" Thaddeus sat up and looked at me with a troubled expression. "If you want money, I can give it to you, just don't." "Get out!" I glared at him, my eyes bloodshot. "Even if I die, I won't take any of your filthy charity." His face turned pale instantly. My marriage to Thaddeus was forced upon me. He threatened me with my mother's medical expenses and dragged me to get the marriage certificates. I had seen him countless times, sitting under the dim light in his study, staring blankly at the 2 marriage certificates. At that time, I had a bad reputation, kept several young stars, and made him being cheated never home. When I did return, I would shout at him to get far away and not bother me. Later, Thaddeus went abroad for 8 years, even missing his father's funeral. We tortured each other for 12 years. He finally gave up, exhausted, sitting on a chair with his eyes drooping, and said to me, "Let's divorce. I'll leave everything behind." "I'm sorry, I wasted these years of yours." He gave me everything except those 2 marriage certificates. The day after the divorce, he left for another country. For the next 40 years, until his death, I never saw him again. I thought I was dead, and that this chaotic life could finally end. But unexpectedly, when I opened my eyes, I was back to the night when I had been drugged and lost my virginity to Thaddeus. Staring at my pale fingers, the short skirt scattered on the floor. The ambiguous scent in the room made me feel like fate was playing a trick on me. Should I live through this absurd and ridiculous experience again? I turned my head to look at Thaddeus' satisfied sleeping face and couldn't help but ask myself, do I really want to go through that chaotic life again? The answer, of course, was no. I've lived too long. The feelings of love, hate, and bitterness have faded with time, and I no longer feel much about it. I didn't want to get tangled up in it anymore. Excited, I got out of bed, picked up the clothes on the floor, and took a taxi to the hospital. To see my mother, including my past life, I had already lost her for almost 50 years. To see her again, even if she couldn't speak and was lying on the bed as a vegetable, I would still be happy. I patiently wiped her body clean and massaged her stiff legs. It was already noon. Just as I was about to go out to eat, I saw Thaddeus walking in. I stopped in my tracks.